Welcome to the Wellness Empowerment Project. I'm Trish.
And I'm Julie. We are two nurses exploring holistic healing and wellness practices to empower you to be the leader of your own health.
Join us as we have fun making the weird shit a normal part of your everyday life. Hello, everyone. And today we are welcoming Sandie Gascon. She is an integrative healing practitioner, the author of Heal Yourself, and the founder of the Integrative Healing Academy. After suffering severe side effects from medications during her 20-year battle with chronic migraines, after being diagnosed with lupus, she committed herself to healing naturally. Through her experiences, she developed a whole body, mind, and spirit approach that addresses the person in a truly holistic manner. Welcome, Sandie.
Thanks for having me, ladies.
Hi, Sandie.
Hi.
So nice to have you here with us today. Can you give us a little bit of background as to how you got started in this field?
Yeah, so I was diagnosed with migraines, started having them when I was 7, and that just continued on. When I was 19, I was diagnosed with bipolar depression, put on medication for that, which did help the migraines, and it decreased the frequency, but it turned me into a zombie. And I could not get off the medication that they put me on. It was causing severe withdrawals any time I tried to get rid of it. And the doctors were no help. I was totally being gaslighted. At the time I was actually going to school, I was in university studying biomedicine. I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be able to help people heal and cure migraines. I realized that the pharmaceutical approach was not for me and finished my degree and went on to become a massage therapist. From there, I ended up developing a severe bout of food poisoning, which caused my health to spiral, leading to a lupus diagnosis and having to quit my job and move home with my parents and live in their basement. After a year of really deep depression, I was able to pull myself out and really I had a huge shift and realized that I was responsible for making changes. I was responsible. I needed to stop blaming everybody. I went on this quest to try to use science to heal naturally. I was able to get off the medication. I was able to balance my brain. I was able to get rid of the lupus antibodies. I was doing really well, but I couldn't heal my skin. And I continued doing trial and error, ended up causing so much harm with the trial and error, and developed something called interstitial cystitis, which is basically like nonstop bladder pain. From there, I realized that I had to end that cycle. I needed to get certified as a practitioner to run labs so I could finally see what was going on and stop guessing. And that's what I did. I was able to use the knowledge and the research I'd done over all those years healing and figure out what was going on with my bladder. I went on to open my business. At the time, it was called Motivated to Heal, and started working with people and had great success, which led to writing my book and creating the Integrative Healing Academy. Now I've been a practitioner for 8 years. 2 years ago, we started the academy. I've now got 25 grads who are fully certified, doing what I do, helping people heal with this whole body approach. And it's just been amazing.
Wow, Sandie, that's quite a journey that you've been on. And I personally have never experienced what you have experienced. But my husband has had a history of migraines, and he actually had migraines since he was a child. We went through our own little experiment process of actually healing his migraines through his reflux that we found on his own. But we definitely really resonated with that story, with how the medicine never really helped. It may have helped a little bit, but it never really broke through until you got to the root cause. With that said, you started with the migraines of your journey. The medication made it a little bit better, but then you just spiraled on into lupus and all these other issues. What happened with the migraines? Did we ever get them completely healed?
Oh,
And
yeah.
that is part of the story.
Yeah.
When I started to wean off the medication that I was on, I was doing it at the same time that I was balancing my brain naturally, because it's not advised to just cut your medication cold turkey or anything like that. But I had done a lot of research. I was actively working to balance my neurotransmitters naturally while I weaned off to minimize the withdrawals. And after I weaned off the medication, the migraines were gone. My brain was balanced. I didn't have these bipolar manic depressive swings anymore. And I actually found that the majority of my symptoms that they called lupus went away when I was about 8 weeks off the medication.
What do you think you attribute your healing too with all of that? It sounds like you were doing multiple things. Do you think that there was really one thing in particular that you did that helped to resolve that issue?
With the migraines, definitely it was caused by a neurotransmitter imbalance. And when I was starting out on my journey, we didn't have genetics. We actually really didn't, there was not a lot of testing back then. Functional medicine wasn't as large as it is today. So we definitely didn't have genetics. I didn't have access to the testing I had now. It was a lot of trial and error. But now I can run my genetics and I can see, oh my gosh, like I was prone to very high levels of dopamine, very low levels of serotonin. So I would go into manic states, high dopamine, and then I would crash. Manic states, high dopamine, and then I would crash. And there was no serotonin to support that. Now, everybody's brain is different. It's why we want to run labs and see what's going on. But for me, the migraines were definitely caused by that. And the medication that I was taking for the depression, the manic depression, was causing a lot of side effects that was then attributed and put under the label of lupus. And once though the medication was clear, my brain was balanced, then I was able to do a lot more work on my gut and my detox pathways and bringing different systems into balance. And at that time, I didn't have a plan. It was just like, oh, let's work on this or let's try this. But now when I'm working with clients, there is a very systematic approach that I use to make sure that we're addressing each system in the body in the right order that's working with the body to heal instead of against it. I don't recommend people do what I did. I recommend they do what I developed that took all those years healing myself. My program itself didn't develop. I didn't know it when I got started. It took me years of working with hundreds of people around the world to realize that we needed to rebuild the body. We needed to repair the detox pathways, and then we could go on and work on the gut and heavy metals. And if we support the body first, then it works with us. If we try to do it the other way, the body isn't able to handle anything that we do.
Sandie, I think you make a really good point that a lot of the medication that we're given to take, it is there to support, whether it's a hormone or a glandular or a neurotransmitter that our body produces. But anything else, once we go on the medicine, you're never going to be able to go off of it unless something changes. If you're not actively doing something to change something, that medication, there's going to be no reason to ever get off of that. So what were you doing to work with your own neurotransmitters, as you said, to start to rebalance your brain?
Yeah, our neurotransmitters are going to need certain cofactors. So the enzymes that make the neurotrans and that break down the neurotransmitters require certain cofactors. And three big ones are going to be magnesium, active B6, and zinc. And a lot of people are depleted in those. They're eating a standard American diet. They're not getting the right nutrients. And even if they are eating really clean, because the toxic burden on our body is so high right now, we're depleting, we're running through all of our nutrients and our minerals. We need to use supplements. We need to get support on board for our neuro to be able to be produced. And then after that, we need to give the body the precursors. So our body makes our neurotransmitters out of different amino acids. And it takes them and it converts it into different steps. And that's going to make the neurotransmitters. If you don't have enough of those precursors, you're not going to make them. And when we start taking medication, like I was put on Effexor, which is going to slow the breakdown of serotonin, it's not giving me more serotonin. It's never going to give me more. And that's why it stopped working. I just ran out of everything and my body just tanked. When we're using supplements, we can actually raise the levels in the brain and we can actually slow the breakdown with herb that actually do the exact same as the medication. They just don't come with all the lovely side effects.
What are some of the first steps that you take with a client when they come to you? I feel like there's so many people that I know that feel like their health has been haywire. When they go to their doctor, they have these vague symptoms, but overall, certain markers are fine. Their cholesterol's fine, their blood pressure's fine, their weight's okay, and so they're deemed healthy. When somebody comes to you with some vague symptoms, what are some of the first things that you do to get that client started?
Yeah, and when somebody comes to me, it really doesn't matter what their symptoms are. Symptoms can overlap to many different things. Whether it's a healthy person trying to reach optimal health or somebody with a disease diagnosis, our first step is always going to be to order what I call the foundation labs. And that's an organic acids test, a full blood panel, and a genetics test. And you touched upon something with the blood work. When people go to their doctor, they're looking at normal ranges, the normal population. And when we look around and we take a look at everybody who's normal, we can't exactly say that those people are the picture perfect role models of health. They're probably not healthy and vibrant and fit and active and not relying on some sort of caffeine to get them up in the morning and alcohol to slow them down at night. We don't want to go by normal ranges. We want to go by optimal ranges where the healthy people, the very healthy, vibrant people are sitting. And we want to run these 3 labs together because they put the puzzle pieces together. One without the other doesn't give us all the information. We look at genetics and we will see gene markers and how our enzymes behave in our brains. How does your brain break down serotonin? Does it go quickly, slowly? How does your brain break down dopamine? And so we can really bring balance to the brain when we compare it to the organic acids test, which shows us how your body's actually breaking down your neurotransmitters. But it's one of the more complex pieces when we're looking at healing the body. Like when I had a live call with my practitioners last night and my students, and that is something that I go over and teach again and again because it is really complex to put that puzzle together. The other part that's really complex is our detoxification pathways. You've probably heard of the MTHFR gene. Everybody talks about it, but a tiny piece of this big methylation cycle. And when you're only focusing on one tiny piece and you're not looking at the cycle and you're not looking at your neurotransmitters and you're not looking at these other factors, you can really do a lot more harm than good with supplements. We want to run these foundation labs because it gives us this big picture about your neurotransmitters, your detox pathways, your mitochondria. So how your body makes energy, and it's going to show us nutrient deficiencies and all this amazing information. It creates like this foundation to start to heal. And from there, we keep building on that foundation. We look at hormones and adrenals, and then we go on and we go to really moving toxins out of the body and going to gut work and clearing up the gut. But when people start to with me, the first thing we do is run the labs. Then we have about a 2 to 3 week waiting period while we get those labs back. And that's when we look at nutrition, which is very important, but it's a part of the picture. And I believe in a balanced whole food diet. I'm not a proponent of really strict diets in any sort of way. We also work on mindset, and that's shifting your vibration to a place that you can start to heal. Because if you're in fight or flight, if you're chronically stressed, if you're overworking yourself, we need to make a shift there. Otherwise, nothing is going to happen. Anything we put in to your body, supplement wise, is just going to flow right out as you burn through it. So we get that key foundation on board, and then it builds from there.
You mentioned that after you do these foundation labs, you started to say that will help guide us to what direction we need to go to next. And you touched on hormones and the adrenals. Let's face it, us as women, we go through many changes.
Many.
Are you able to see from those labs beforehand how our body has already been affecting our hormones?
Yeah, and I don't look at hormones right away. In my program, hormones come about month 4 because the way I look at it, if you are stressed out, and this can be emotional stress, or this could be toxic burden. This can be pathogens in your body. This could be toxic overload. If your body is stressed and just trying to survive and get by day, it's not thinking about procreation. It would be very counterintuitive for us to say, hey, you're trying to survive right now, body. I want you to make your hormones. It's going to be like, whoa, no, thank you. I'm just going to get you through this day. And then, when you're feeling a little better, we'll think about procreating and I'll bring those hormones back into balance. So it's not at the top of the priority list. It needs to move down to not the top of our priority list. When we support the thyroid and the nutrient deficiencies and the detox pathways and the neurotransmitters and the mitochondria, then the body has the ability to start to address the hormones itself. And that's why I don't look at it right away. The same with adrenals. If you're under stress all the time, we want to start minimizing that stress. You need to start doing mindset work. You need to learn tools to help you with that stress. You need to change the way you're thinking and looking at life. And we need to tone everything down and give your body support. And then we watch the adrenals also come into balance on their own. When we work with the body in the right order, we actually have to do less work.
What are your go-to tools to help with that mindset shift?
Go-to tools definitely are really looking at what your thoughts are saying. So a lot of us are spending more time in the future thinking about a future that we don't want. And that future that we don't want is creating a state of fight or flight. The body can't tell the difference between whether you're afraid of something that's real, so the bear is actually chasing you, or you're imagining yourself being sick for the rest of your life, or you're thinking about the money issues, or you're thinking about this, that, and the other. You're putting yourself into this chronic state of fight or flight. When we start to just have an awareness of what the thoughts are saying, and we come back into a little bit more presence and being in the moment, focusing on gratitude. If we're thinking about the future, shift to thinking about the future we want to create versus the one that we don't want to see. That can really start to bring the person into more of what I call stage 2 consciousness, where you're not just a victim to every thought, every whim, everything somebody's saying to you. You start to become more aware of what you're saying to yourself. And most of us are totally unconscious. We're just walking around, thoughts are coming. We have no awareness of it. And when we really start to say, oh my gosh, I keep saying the same thing, like, why am I still sick? I'm going to be like this forever. Why can't I heal? That doesn't feel good. And when we shift it to, I am healing. I'm so grateful that my body is keeping me alive with all the toxins on the planet today. When we start shifting that, then people can bring themselves into a calmer state. It shifts from the sympathetic mode, fight and flight, to the parasympathetic mode, which is rest and digest and repair. That's where the healing happens.
I love that you bring that in because I think that's such a foundational piece for everybody.
Yeah.
But I want to note that you're talking about our nervous system and how our body is reacting and responding to the environment that we're living in. But you use the term vibration. I'd like to go a little bit deeper and see, why did you choose to use that particular word when talking about our nervous system and the mindset work?
When you think about how everything vibrates at a different frequency, there was Power versus Force, a really great book. I recommend everybody read it. He talks about the vibration and the frequency of the different emotions and how they resonate not only with our body, but all around us. We know that if we talk to a snowflake in a negative way, it's going to have a terrible, ugly structure. But if we send it good energy, which is vibration, then it forms a beautiful snowflake. The same thing happens with water and its crystalline structures. And the same thing happens with our bodies. And it's not something that's going to shift for most people in a second. It's something that you work on. You start building more tools so that voice in your head that right now probably is really negative starts to be more of a coach. It helps you move forward. So instead of saying, oh, you can't do this, you're not ever successful, it starts to say, you can do this, you're so strong, try again. But it comes from reprogramming the mind and moving to these higher frequency, higher vibration emotions. And we're not all going to stay in joy and excitement every moment of the day. It's perfectly, really healthy to express your anger and express your frustration and express your sadness. But we all know people who are chronically stuck in those more lower vibration emotions. And I don't love to use the word negative because they're not negative. They have a place, they have a purpose, but the vibration that's lower, and if we stay there long term, it just really slows down. It's not that people can't heal there, it just slows down the body's ability to heal.
That's a great book, by the way. I read it myself.
Yeah.
A ways back.
If listen to it on Audible, it's hard to get through. It was definitely very tough. I'd highly recommend reading the book. Even at 2x speed, it was tough to get through.
Oh, I'm sure.
But it sounds like
I just really think it'd be good for us to hear the process where, what are you focusing on in each month? Because it sounds like you do your baseline labs, but then you see your hormones you don't do till month 4 with a great explanation as to why. But it sounds like this frequency work, vibration work, is this what you get into right after you do those baseline labs?
mindset work starts right off the bat. So whenever somebody signs up with me, they get immediate access to my mindset course. And so that is what we're focusing on. And they're encouraged to create a mindset routine where they're reading inspirational books every day. They're doing a certain amount of the course every week. and they're focusing on doing some meditation. And I normally encourage people who aren't regular meditators. In my book, Heal Yourself, I've got like 10 guided meditations that are really focused on healing. Like they're healing meditations, disassociating from your pain so that you're not your body, and helping send vibrational energy and using colors and frequencies to heal different areas. So I recommend you do that, because so many people are like, I can't meditate, I can't clear my mind. And that's not what meditation is. But we work on that off the bat, square one, mindset, nutrition. We start right away, but I encourage people to make slow changes, because if you go from whatever diet you're on, whatever way you're eating, and you try to change it all tomorrow, it's not going to last. So if we can choose to pick one meal, work with one meal every month, and start to clean that up instead of cut things out, we're cleaning it up. We're lowering the toxic burden on the body, and we just do one meal a month, so that by the time we get to month 4 or 5, when we're starting to think about gut work and prepare to do the gut tests, the diet is mostly clean. But I totally allow people to go out and enjoy a meal with your family at a restaurant. Live your life also. You don't have to live in a bubble. It's not healthy. You get much more hypersensitive, but the mental strain it takes to be isolated from the world and be terrified of food is going to be just as hard on healing as it would be to just go out for dinner.
Do you ever find that your clients, while they're working on their mindset, if they're surrounded by other people, maybe their partner, their spouse, that aren't in the same space, what impacts do people face when they have some, I don't want to say negative Nancy's, but people who are on a lower vibrational frequency than they're aspiring to? Does that delay some of that shift?
It can make it a little tougher, but I think that every person in our life is definitely a spiritual teacher. When I started on this journey, my husband was not on board. He watched me heal from migraines and lupus, and he wouldn't even take a supplement. Like, I was spiking his smoothies every morning because that was the only real food I could get him to eat. He was overworking, and we had a very different thought process. So I did me and he did him. And it took him having a stroke for him to decide to come on board to the other side. But eventually, the universe is going to work its way somehow. If you're not listening, it does play a role. But the more we work on ourselves, the more we'll notice. And it's not so much the people around us are changing, but our perception of them is changing. I have a client whose husband has very different views than she does, and she's starting to do a lot of mindset work. But we have a choice. We either accept the person for who they are and realize we can't change them unless they want, like, they have to want to change. We can work on ourselves. And if we can't, then we have to leave that situation. We can only do one or the other. Otherwise, we're just fighting and we're angry and we're causing that inside ourselves because we're fighting against who they are. If we start to work on ourselves and we start to allow them to just be who they are, and I have this exercise where I have people really focus on the good qualities in that person, talk about them and mention them and focus on them. And then we start to see the other person start to change, because one, if we're not reacting the same way to everything they say, that often tends to go away because most people are feeding on each other's reactions. Eckhart Tolle calls it, we all have this pain body. And if you work on your pain body and stop being so affected by the other person's pain body, then they can just be, you can be, and start to change your vibration. It does play a role, but when you use great teachers like Eckhart Tolle and Byron Katie, that can really help you with any situation that you find yourself in. You can still start shifting your vibration.
Sandie, you've had a pretty powerful and incredible story. But the clients and the people that you worked with, are their stories as powerful as yours? Or are there also people that come in and are just like, listen, I just have these little things. I don't have a major medical illness, but I'm not in my optimal state. And that's all I can tell you.
I love this one. Yes, I definitely do. I have clients who are going through way more than what I've ever went through. And I have clients who, that's all they want to do is get to optimal health. There might be a couple things that they just can't figure out. It doesn't matter where you are. Our goal with the program is start to run the labs and see where the healing opportunities are. We're not trying to really fix anything. We're just trying to give the body tools to start to repair. because it wants to heal. Like that's its only goal, is to be healthy and in homeostasis and everything be nice and balanced and functioning optimally. That's what it wants. If we can assist it in the process, then we're well on our way to getting there.
Do you find that you have worked with anyone and then they come back later? What are the impacts of aging on the body healing itself when you're 25 versus when you're 50? Because
Yeah,
what worked
definitely.
at 25 may not be
Right?
working at 50.
Exactly. And I recommend people run maintenance labs every year. I have a lot of clients that go through my program. We're doing a lot. We get them through the program and then they go to a maintenance dose of supplements. So I don't take a ton of supplements every day. But when you have a health issue and your body is needing more help, you're going to be taking a lot of supplements to get yourself back to where you want to be, to that optimal health level. But then as you get there, as you really build your body's reserves, you don't have to take as many supplements, but you do want to keep running like your blood work and a Dutch test to check your hormones and look at that and do a gut protocol every 3 to 5 years and stay on top of things and still work on phase 3 detox, everything. So when clients complete my program and they're feeling better, I give them instructions on doing this maintenance, and a lot of them do it. They really stick to it. Some of them, within a year or two, they're back to their old lifestyle, right? Because they're like, oh, I felt so good. I started eating that way and then it just continued. And then I stopped doing my mindset. And then they're back. And all we do is, a very quick year renewal where I look at everything. We do a quick gut protocol if they need it again, and we get them back on track. Because the more you do it, the more this becomes a lifestyle. That's why I, recommend slow changes with everything that we do. The more it becomes a lifestyle, the less you're going to have those health issues as you continue to get older.
Yeah, when you're trying to make long-term changes, do you have a certain approach besides just going low and slow
I
to
normally just
implement?
go low and slow. Yeah, it's
Okay.
okay. What meal do you want to tackle? Why don't we tackle breakfast first? And whenever somebody starts with me, I give them a chart on how to start reducing their toxins in their environment. So that's like the cleaning products we use, anything we put on our skin, the scents in our house. And so just slowly making those changes, starting to buy meat from a farm versus meat from the grocery store. These little changes to lower our toxic burden. And what's really amazing, once you do that and that becomes the norm, then your health issues also go down because your toxic burden has went down.
I have a question. Sounds like you definitely have this comprehensive approach, which I do believe we need to be comprehensive if we really want to reach our optimal level. Is there a way that people could just do the testing? Let's say because I feel like there are some people, and I feel like I'm one of those people that feels like, okay, I tackled this mindset piece. I do buy from my meat's from a Lancaster farmer. We feel like we've done all of these things, but we feel like there's something missing. We just want to find out what that is before we commit to anything else.
So if you went and did the testing, you definitely wouldn't understand it. It's like, it takes a while. If you talk to any of my students in the academy, like it is tough to put these puzzles together. Now you can always grab my book, Heal Yourself. In the appendix of the book, it goes over how to analyze all the labs. You can go, there's different places online. You can order the labs. You can use the back of my book and work with that and see what's going on. And then if you want to get a practitioner to help you, the main part of my program that I do, the mindset is bonus, the nutrition is a piece, but the mindset just comes with every single course, whether it's one-on-one coaching with me, one of my grads, the academy, the mindset just comes. It's like its own course. What people are paying me for is to analyze their labs, design their protocols, and then give them support. So I offer unlimited tech support with all my clients, because if you start taking a supplement and you have a reaction and you have to wait 3 weeks to see a practitioner, or you don't understand what you're doing, then the odds of you being successful go down significantly, because you're going to be like, is this a reaction? Is this bad for me? What do I do? And so you can definitely use the book to start to pick some of the supplements that you need and support your body. It has so much information in there. And then if you need help, get a practitioner, either myself or one of my graduates, because they're going to be able to walk you through and this happens, or what if this happens? And then that happened, right? And they're going to support you, because a lot of people, you might think that you're there, but there's definitely a lot of imbalances that you don't even know about. Like some people, they feel really good. And then I run their labs and I'm like, oh gosh, you're a walking heart attack right now. But they don't know until we see it. And if a lot of people, especially people prone to more higher dopamine levels, a lot of men, like they don't know anything is going to happen until it happens. And then it's, oh, now we're really picking up the pieces. Versus when we run these labs and we can see, oh my gosh, these things are really out of balance. You actually have some autoimmune markers that you didn't even know about. Then we can see it and we can start to work on it. But for me, I only work with people if they commit to a whole year. If you're not in it for the whole year and the whole program, then I'm not going to take you on, because the amount of energy that I'm going to put into a client, if you're not ready to realize there's no quick fixes, you need to do the work on your entire body, then I'm not going to put the energy there either, because right now I've got 105 students in the academy, got 25 grads, and all my grads get to send me all of their protocols for me to look over before they submit it to their clients if they feel they need it. And I support all my grads. So you got to be really invested in your health for me to say, yeah, come on, I'll take you on as a client.
I have a couple questions, but I'll start with this one. You mentioned men. Do you find major differences in lab work between men and women and your approach to either one?
I wouldn't say that I find major differences. One thing that I do find is that men tend to heal faster. I don't know if it's because they don't have all the emotional things that we're holding on to. Definitely our hormones are very much more complex than theirs are. Theirs either their testosterone is too high and they're gone toxic, their testosterone is too low, or their estrogen is too high. It's really simple. Ours is like this complex weave. I do find men normally heal faster. That's a bonus whenever a male client comes on board. It's normally a lot smoother of a flow 99% of the time. But in labs, there's some markers that are going to be very different. Their iron and their ferritin is going to be higher at optimal ranges than what ours are. We tend to be lower. And a lot of men are eating, especially right now, people are all going carnivore and keto and all these things. And men are getting their iron to like toxic levels because they keep eating all this meat. Now with us, as long as we're cycling, that's not an issue. We're losing a lot of blood every month. But for men, that is a huge difference that I see all the time. And of course, their hormones are very different. I also find that a lot of times women are more likely to do more of the mindset work than men are. For men, as soon as we really get their testosterone optimized, we get their dopamine levels better and address any issues with detoxification that could be blocking either of those two, they start to feel a lot better very quickly.
Interesting. Yeah, I could see that men not being as into the mindset work as women. I was curious the impact of hormones and women cycling, if that made a big difference.
For sure. It does 100%, because there's such complexities that could be happening with our cycles and throwing us off completely out of balance. And for men, it's literally one of those three issues. And it's usually a pretty easy fix. There's some easy herbs to lower their estrogen if it's too high. If we change up their diet to help that estrogen come down, and we help that testosterone go up, but be safely metabolized. And it's super, super easy to do with women. It's, well, we have to run a cycle map. What's going on at ovulation right now? Why is all of this stuff so out of whack? And it can take a lot longer.
I wasn't surprised when you said that it usually is easier for men, but I was still slightly annoyed having to hear it.
Slightly annoyed. Slightly annoyed. It's like, okay,
Just
so
to give full transparency.
we have babies, we have periods, we go through menopause. We also healed Floored the vagans. Why wasn't I born a man?
Oh, the blessed life of being male.
Yes.
Yeah. My other question is in relation to autoimmune markers. And this stems from just a comment that my PCP made when I had some blood work run. I had significant levels of autoimmune markers. And her response was essentially, everybody these days has some autoimmune markers. It doesn't necessarily mean anything that you should be concerned about just because of the toxic load and things like that. Is that what you're seeing in your practice, that pretty much everybody has some level of autoimmune disorder? When should somebody become concerned? Because her response was, if you're not having symptoms, you're fine.
when you look at it in two ways, that's a blessing, because the majority of doctors who will see that will be like, oh, you have autoimmune markers. Here's Plaquenil, methotrexate, steroid, or they're really pushing the biologics right now. So in a way that she said that, that is a blessing for you that she's not like pushing these things onto you. At the other end of the spectrum is, yes, we're seeing it all the time. Is it normal? And is it normal? Yes, because everything's happening. So normal is everybody. Is it right? Is it supposed to be that way? No, it's not supposed to be that way. And so if you are having autoimmune markers showing up, then you need to work on your detox pathways, like big time. Methylation plays a huge role in turning things on and off and activating and inactivating genes. We want to definitely work a lot on detox, and we also want to work on the gut and different pathogens that could be triggering that autoimmune response. We also have to look at things that we're putting into our bodies that are triggering that autoimmune response. Because is it normal? Sadly, yes. Especially I've seen it skyrocket in the past couple of years. Is it what we want? No. Should we be concerned? Yes. Should we be scared and fearful and favor the trees? No, because that's not going to be helpful either. Okay, I see this lab, and no matter what it says, it is a healing opportunity. And if we look at it that way, we're just seeing ourselves like decrepit and unable to move. And this, that again, fear response, lower vibration. You look at the labs, these are healing opportunities. You see an autoimmune marker, you say, okay, I need to go and I need to do some work on my body, because my body might not be sending a screaming message at me yet, but that test is giving you advanced warning. And a lot of times people's bodies, we've been ignoring them for so long, or anytime we feel something, we take an Advil or we take a Tylenol, or we have a sniffle and we take this and we just try to turn everything off. We're not listening to our bodies anymore. And if we can't listen, then at least the labs are going to tell us clearly.
Yeah, I think that's so true. We don't want to be bothered with the messages that our bodies are telling us. We just want to stop it.
We want to stop it and want to keep going in the rat race. Every day, all day, our body should just function and be perfect. We wake up with all this energy. And if it doesn't, my gosh, we're either going to take something for it or we're going to have a little bit of an anxiety fit. And we don't want to do any of that. We want to rest and run labs, see what's going on, and start giving our body some time and some tools to start to heal.
Totally agree.
So Sandie, it's been a wealth of information talking to you. I'd like to know if someone is interested in learning more about you or your work, or working with you, or even working with one of your practitioners that are coming up, what's the best way that they can go to find you?
The first thing is that you can go to Amazon, get my book. It's called Heal Yourself, Body, Mind, Spirit. So you can just type in Heal Yourself, Sandie Gascon, and it will come up. It's a really good overview of the program. And then from there, you can go to my website. It's www.sgintegrativehealing.com, and you can book a health assessment. We send you some homework videos to watch so that you know all about the program before you even get on a call. And from there, when you get on a call, I listen and find out what's going on with you. And then I'll really give you whether you need one-on-one coaching with me, with my grads, or if you're really interested in learning about this, you can definitely go into the academy. You can learn how to analyze these labs yourself. You can go on to become a practitioner. That's what's calling for you. So the first step is to just get on a call and we see where you're at. Because there's a lot of people who they have so much brain fog. There's so much fatigue. They've got such complex health issues. They could be on a lot of medication that going into the academy really is not the best fit for them. One-on-one coaching with either myself or one of my grads is going to be the best fit. And that's going to just help them get started and get going and get feeling better. And then if they feel better, which a lot of the graduates and the students in the academy, they went through my program first. They got themselves feeling better. And then they were like, this is what I want to learn, this either for myself and my family, or I want to go on and become a practitioner. And that's when they end up in the academy.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time today. We'll make sure that all of that information is in our show notes so people can find you easily and use those references.
Awesome. Thanks so much, ladies, for having me.
Thanks for joining. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow, subscribe, and share with a friend.
Want to learn more about a specific topic? Follow and drop us a line on Instagram so we can explore it more with you.